Zamfara state sits at the heart of Nigeria's northwest, a region once famed for its agriculture and mineral wealth, but now ravaged by banditry, displacement, and deep-seated insecurity. As Governor Dauda Lawal marks a second year in office, the security situation remains dire. In Kaura Nomada, residents were told are now sleeping in the bush, returning only by day, while hundreds remain in captivity. A federal lawmaker from the state says over 200 people have been abducted from his constituency alone in recent weeks. The All Progressives Congress in Zamfara has called for a state of emergency, while civic groups are demanding the governor's resignation, citing his unmet promise to end banditry within 90 days of assuming office. And yet, the administration insists it's laying the foundation for long-term reform, clearing billions in inherited debts, reviving education, and beginning talks to harness the state's untapped mineral wealth. Tonight, Governor Dauda Lawal joins me for a candid conversation. Can he turn things around? What's the true state of security, governance, and politics in Zamfara today? Governor Lawal, welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Thank you very much.
Let's begin with the most pressing concern. I'm doing very fine. Thank you for asking. The bigger elephant in the room is the issue of security. Just recently, residents of Sabongeri in Kaura Nomada were attacked. 4 were killed, 26 abducted. According to a member of representatives, Honorable Aminu Jaji, over 200 have been kidnapped from his constituency alone in recent weeks, including 60 people from Banga, 10 of whom were killed when the community couldn't raise about 30 million naira ransom. What is your honest assessment of where things stand now? Why are communities still this vulnerable 2 years into your administration?
Well, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. Like you rightly mentioned about insecurity in Zamfara State, that has been there for the past 13 years, even before I took over as governor of Zamfara State. However, I can confidently tell you that we are making conscious effort to make sure we tackle the insecurity matters in Zamfara State. Yes, there may be some pocket of attacks here and there from time to time, but I can tell you that it's not as it used to be in the past. In the past, hardly a day goes by without hearing 200 people, 100 people being killed or abducted. But the situation in Zamfara, as it is today, is entirely different. You don't get to hear that at all. Even the number of people you're talking about in Karanamoda that were abducted is not true that over 200 people were kidnapped or abducted. That is not true because, I haven't had that information. And I've been in Zamfara for the past 14 days, and there was never anything like that. There may be some pocket of attacks here and there, which is normal. It's not something that is going to happen overnight. And let me make it also clear that I did not promise that I was going to end banditry in 90 days. What I said is we're going to face it head on, and that is exactly what we're doing as responsible government.
Well, that figure was quoted by a member of the House of Representatives who mentioned that over 200 people have been kidnapped in his constituencies in recent weeks. I'm sure he wasn't referring to a single abduction. But the displacement tracking matrix report from May 19 confirms that attacks in Kaura Namoda and Bukuyum affected over 1,300 individuals, mostly women and children, with some form of fatalities and displacement. What kind of response, both humanitarian and security-wise, has your government provided for these affected persons?
Well, like I rightly pointed out in my previous response to you, yes, there may be some pocket of attacks here and there, and I'm also aware of some incidents that happened in Karanamoda, which we have taken drastic action in taking care of the situation. While we're doing this, fighting these bandits, they also will fight back, and that is exactly what we're going through. But what I'm saying is, security situation in Zamfara State has improved. Forget about politics. because there may be some political statement here and there from opposition thinking that, yes, you know, we promised we're going to do something as far as security is concerned. But yes, we're doing that and we're on top of it. And we'll continue to do that until we finally reach a stage where we'll be very, very comfortable. So it's an ongoing process. And let me also say this again. I'm not sure there's that 200 people within the last even 2 weeks or 1 month that were abducted in Zamfara, in Karanamoda. It is not correct.
You just talked about the need not to bring politics into this. And that is very critical because, you know, the right thing to do is once election is over, everyone comes to the table across party lines to make life better for residents, especially when it pertains to the issue of insecurity. The Minister of State for Defense, your predecessor, Bello Matawale, is now centrally involved in security coordination across the Northwest. Why have you not been able to collaborate on security operations in good faith beyond your political differences?
That is a very interesting question, and that has always been my concern. If you check in my previous comments, what I said was, look, let's all join hands together as people of Zamfara State and fight banditry or fight insecurity in the state, because elections were over. It's about governance now. And let's all be in it together. And I've made that appeal over and over, and I'm still on that. Anybody who feels he has something to contribute toward this insecurity, he is very, very much welcome. And I'll be more than happy to work with that person at any point in time. And I'm still on that.
Well, I'm not talking about anybody. And I'm hoping that we can have a honest conversation, because the papers are full of the back and forth between both of you. It's the lives of the people that matter, right? Have you made some direct attempts to reach out to him, sit across the table to have this conversation?
As far as insecurity is concerned in Zamfara State, I'll be more than happy to work with anybody, including Matole, who is the current Minister of State of Defense, because he has no other state than Zamfara State. So if Zamfara is at peace, then everybody is at peace. And I'm sure he should be more than happy to see that Zamfara is actually in peace. And he has every role to play in terms of bringing this thing down. For goodness sake, he is the Minister of Defense, for that matter, and former governor of Zamfara State. So what else can we do?
What kind of collaboration has existed between both of you? Because you are from the same state that is affected by insecurity. Have you sat down to talk, to strategize on how to carry the federal government along, since you now have a governor and a minister right at the center of providing defense for the nation?
I'm sure you've seen a couple of times where I went to meet the National Security Advisor at the top. I was also at the Defense Ministry, where I met with Badaru. I also met with Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Defense Staff, as well as Chief of Air Staff, all looking for collaboration. I mean, if I didn't do that, what will you say? But I've done that, extended that hand where I will need help, because as a Chief Security Officer of the state, I don't have command and control structure of the armed forces of Nigeria. It's under the federal government. So no matter what, I'll have to seek for federal government assistance. And I've done that over and over, and I'm still doing that. Why? Because I want peace in my state.
Are you getting enough? Are you getting enough assistance from the federal government to resolve this insecurity challenge?
Honestly, I mean, I can understand also the challenges the federal government is facing in terms of the number of armed forces that are supposed to be all over, because the problem of security is not just limited to Zamfara, but Zamfara happens to be the hope where all these things are starting from. And I keep saying, if we're able to address Zamfara insecurity, believe me, 70% of this insecurity in northern Nigeria will be overcome.
It sounds like you're saying that the federal government isn't doing enough because of the number of things they have to attend to. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Governor?
Well, they're trying their best in terms of, I mean, the military are there and they're all over also. But of course, there are resources issue. There are issue with even the tools they use in fighting this banditry, because banditry now is much more sophisticated than just conventional, using conventional weapons. It's about, using technology. So, and it costs money. But like I said, they're doing their best. And Zamfara State is also cooperating fully as far as that is concerned. You can find out from the brigade commander, you can find out from Chief of Defense Staff, even the Office of NSA. So there's that collaboration. And like I said, it's an ongoing process, and we will continue to engage.
You said they're doing their best, but that best has to be enough for us to get security in Zamfara. Precisely what can they do better? What are you challenging them to do more as someone who is the Chief Security Officer in this state?
First of all, we need additional manpower because they don't have enough men to do the fight. And it's one of the reasons why, upon resumption in office, I had to set up the Community Protection Guard, which will help the conventional security in terms of fighting this banditry. They need new technology. They need aircraft. They need so much. So yes, and that is the responsibility of federal government. So if we can have more in Zamfara State, I think that will go a long way in fighting this menace that has been there for the past 13 years. And like I said also, and this thing is not limited to just Zamfara State, it's the entire north. I'm sure you heard of all the attacks in Adamawa yesterday, what is happening in Maiduguri within the last couple of weeks, what is happening in Jos. I mean, it's all over. But for me, in Zamfara, like I said, we need more manpower. We need to use technology in order to fight this bandits. If we're able to get that from federal government, I think that will go a long way in solving the issues or the challenges Zamfara State is facing, as well as other parts of northern Nigeria.
Governor Lawal, the Zamfara APC alleges that your administration is trying to sabotage military efforts through media campaigns and that you haven't supported operations with logistics. How do you respond to this serious accusation?
Well, I'm sure you're a witness. Just last week, I've launched 140 vehicles to all the security personnel in Zamfara State. Why did I do that? I did that as part of my contribution towards aiding them in fighting bandits in Zamfara State. So how can somebody in his right senses say that, we are not assisting the conventional security forces? Why do I even have the Community Protection Guard? I have the Community Protection Guard because they will assist in fighting these criminals. They understand the trend better than the conventional security. And these are local. There are people that live with those guys in their respective communities. So, how can somebody even in his right senses come and say, look, I'm not cooperating with federal government? In what sense? I know how much money I'm spending on a daily basis to assist the conventional security.
So on one hand,
the facts are there.
You are fighting banditry, but on the other hand, there are also quite a number of loud voices, critical voices about your performance in government. A civil group by the name Coalition for Good Governance and Accountability in the Northwest says you haven't lived up to your campaign promises, especially the pledge to end banditry within the first 3 months, which you mentioned earlier on that you did not quite say that. But they have now even called for your resignation. Do you think you are getting as much support from critical stakeholders in your onslaught against insecurity?
Well, in the first place, like I said, I did not promise to end insecurity either in 90 days or less. Never, never. And if I've said that, please, I need a clip where I made that statement. That's number one. Number two, for critics to say we're not doing much as far as insecurity is concerned, that is just a political statement because, like I've said, if there's anything that I'm doing right now to stabilize Zamfara State is to fight banditry. Apart from other things that we're doing in terms of education, in terms of healthcare, in terms of agriculture, in terms of empowerment, and so many other things. The facts are there. We can present those facts. And I'm happy, even you as a journalist, whenever we're doing any project or commissioning any projects, we do that live, and your people can testify to the fact that we're doing so much as far as healthcare sector is concerned, as far as education is concerned. In fact, it's one reason why I had to declare state of emergency indication. I haven't realized the challenges Zamfara State is facing. It's also one of the reasons why I had to declare state of emergency in the health sector, haven't realized the challenges Zamfara State is facing with limited resources. I challenge anybody within the last 32 years to come and compare what we're doing with what the previous administration did in Zamfara State, and then you be the judge.
All right.
This is a state that, okay, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted us to just take a couple of the sectors that you have talked about. Education, for instance, you recently revealed that Zamfara students couldn't write WAEC and NECO for 2 years due to a particular debt to the tune of 3.2 billion naira. You said your government has since paid that off and renovated over 450 schools. Break down where the education system stands right now for us. What has changed and what challenges persist?
You know, the emergency declaration in education is really working very well. And I'll tell you why. You're aware of the quantum of dates we had to settle WAEC and NECO to the tune of over 3 billion, which resulted now in collecting all the certificates within the last 6 years. In fact, just last week, WAEC and NECO handed over all those certificates to us, and we are now handing over those certificates to the respective individuals. That is one. If you look at the condition of our schools in the past, it is an eyesore. It was an eyesore. As we speak, we have renovated, refurbished, and furnished over 450 schools in Zamfara State, ranging from primary school to senior secondary school, as well as other tertiary institutions. You're also aware, if you look at the results of NECO and WAEC this year, we have made significant progress as far as Zamfara State is concerned, which means the declaration of state of emergency is really working. As we speak also, we are recruiting over 500 teachers. Haven't realized that we have done so much in terms of reconstructing and refurbishing these schools. We also need to have human beings that will be able to man these schools. And that's the reason why we are recruiting over 500 teachers that will teach in special subjects, especially sciences, mathematics, information technology, and so on and so forth, so that at least we'll be up to speed as far as education is concerned. You're also aware of the fact that now Zamfara State, under the special gifted children, Zamfara State came second after Anambra. You're also aware that this year we have the best principal overall in Nigeria. So these things are working. You're also aware we have paid scholarship to the students in Sudan that are now back, and we absorb them now as nursing students. We have clearly paid all the students in India, and they're back in the country now.
I hear you, Mr. Governor.
So in that aspect.
Allow me to quickly butt in. I don't want to bore you with how the government accrued 3.2 billion naira in WAEC and NECO fees, but let's talk about sustainability. Are you paying for these exams for the students? What are the structures on ground to ensure that this doesn't happen again?
Well, I think part of the reason why we went through that was because there was no process in place, there was no planning in the past. So having realized those challenges now, we're doing whatever is humanly possible to put process in place, whereby even if we are not there, at least the process will flow. That is number one. Number two, having realized that we have issues in education, and without education, we cannot move forward. That is why it's our number one priority. Now, with all the measures put in place, it will be difficult for any government after my government to neglect that sector again, because people realize that it is possible to do all these things. It's not just in education. Almost in every aspect, there was total absence of process as far as Zamfara is concerned. Zamfara State is concerned. It is now that we are laying the foundation for process, accountability to the people in every aspect. So I think with this, it would be very, very difficult for anybody now to come and deviate from what is in place. And that is the most important thing in putting structures and processes in place.
Governor Lawal, let's take a breath there. We'll be back to talk more about some other sectors and what you've been able to accomplish in the past 2 years. Stay with us, everyone. Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal, thank you for staying the course on the program.
Thank you.
So you've also talked about pension arrears dating as far back as 2011, totaling over 13 billion that you inherited. How much of that liability has been cleared to date? And what structural reforms have you implemented to prevent future recurrence?
It is correct that since 2011, there was no payment of pension and gratuity in Zamfara State to the tune of 13.6 billion. And I'm happy to say that we have cleared everybody from 2011 as far as the issue of pension and gratuity is concerned, including the dead ones. They were paid. Their family were paid. And we are now implementing a new pension structure whereby if you retire today, you will get your entitlement within the next 1 week, so that we don't create any vacuum or any backlog for anybody. It is not under my administration that I'll leave anything unturned as far as pension and gratuity is concerned. And that's why we're putting all the structures in place to guard against future occurrence of what I inherited, because it was really, really a very, very sad situation. I mean, if you see how people feel when they get their money, I mean, it's unbelievable. I cannot imagine a government that will leave those people that work so hard, and at the end of the day, they are left with nothing. It is sad. And we'll make sure we put all the necessary structures in place so that...
Pension and gratuity.
And I can tell you that, yeah, pension and gratuity, exactly. If you go to Zamfara State now, people are no longer scared to retire from service because they know once they retire, their money is guaranteed.
Mr. Governor, you're saying you have cleared 9.6 billion naira in gratuity and pension all the way to 2011. 13.6 billion.
From 2011, 13.6 billion was paid. We don't have anybody that is pending as we speak.
It sounds good. 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, you expressed some frustration that despite Zamfara's abundant solid minerals, the state hasn't generated any revenue from them. We understand that the ban has now been lifted on mining. What's your plan to attract credible investors and ensure that the state, this time, not just illegal actors, benefits from this wealth?
Well, Zamfara State is blessed. If you're talking about solid minerals in Nigeria today, Zamfara State has the highest mineral deposit in Nigeria, be it in gold, be it copper, lithium, just name it. Unfortunately, we're not getting any advantage as far as that is concerned. And I'm happy now that the ban on mining has been lifted by federal government. And that's the reason why we are now making conscious effort to look for credible investors that will be able to come and do mining in Zamfara State. And that process is ongoing, and we're collaborating with also federal government as far as that is concerned, because like you know, mining is an exclusive list. But however, the land also belongs to the state. So that is why we're now collaborating with federal government to put the modality, a framework where mining activities can be conducted officially, not the artisanal mining. That is what we are doing right now, and that's more reason why we are doing so much in terms of infrastructure, which will facilitate those interested investors to come and put in their money in Zamfara State. And if that happens, it means more revenue for Zamfara State.
And it sounds good,
if we're able to get
Mr. Governor. The potential for revenue making sounds really good. But are you concerned about further insecurity in mining regions, given that these sites have previously attracted the interest of armed groups and foreign mercenaries?
No. I think what we need to do is, by the time we formalize the sector, of course you have to bring locals into it, because they also need to have some benefits. If you're able to do that and you're very transparent, and I think the process will be seamless. A situation whereby everything, I mean, you're not being transparent in terms of what you do, you don't know who is there, you don't know what they're doing. I mean, that calls for suspicion. But if the whole thing is formalized now, there are credible investors, that the state government is aware, federal government is also aware, I think there won't be any crisis anymore. It's going to be seamless. Anything that is so transparent, people can see, people embrace it. But a situation whereby you're just doing everything for yourself, not for the community, then of course it calls for concern. And that is why you're getting agitation from different part of people. I personally engage with the local community and explain what we're doing now and what we intend to do going forward. And they are all okay. And everybody will be carried along. And that will bring about development. Look, even corporate social responsibility, when you bring a credible investor that is doing mining in certain areas, issue of schools will be there, issue of infrastructure will be there, issue of hospital, and so many other things will follow. That is why we're doing everything humanly possible to formalize this sector. And once that is achieved, which I'm sure is just a matter of time, because we're getting there, we have the right set of investors, we're just profiling everybody, and by the time this thing starts, believe me, it will be a different story in Zamfara State.
We're counting on that, and I'm sure residents in Zamfara are also really counting on that. Let's talk some politics now. We're counting down to 2027, and we've seen some shifting dynamics. Some of your colleagues have already left the PDP. We hear that some also are on the way. You tweeted recently about being a bona fide member of the PDP, and you ask your followers to disregard the fake news from detractors, right? That you have your eyes on rescue mission. Are you saying there's no room for defection? You're not planning to go to the APC, Governor Lawal?
Right now, I'm not planning to go anywhere. I'm a PDP governor, and I still remain a PDP governor, and I'll continue to be a PDP governor unless the party is no longer a party in Nigeria. My stand has been very, very clear.
Well, you're not concerned about the prospect of winning on that platform, seeing what is happening within the PDP, the entire structure in Delta.
Under which platform did I get my governorship?
You don't think PDP? A lot has changed in the past 2 years within your party at the national level?
No. You know, let's localize our politics there. We're doing our best, and I'm sure we're comfortable as far as the party is concerned. So for me, it's not about moving to APC or any other party. I still remain in my PDP.
Oh. Would you endorse President Tinubu for president in 2027?
Well, 2027 is still a long way to go. We still have 2 years. So there's time for that. You know, dynamics changes. So let's wait and see until then.
But a lot is happening right now. I mean, for the first time, we're seeing a lot of camaraderie along party lines, a PDP governor recently told his commissioners that if they don't follow him to APC, he's not going to keep them on his cabinet. we're hearing that some 5 brother governors from the PDP are on their way to the APC. A lot of endorsements, really.
Politics is dynamic. So let's just keep watching how events will unfold.
Absolutely.
The future is very bright. Yeah. As far as Nigeria is concerned.
Many ordinary citizens in Zamfara have lost faith in both the political and security structures. What would you say to them tonight, especially to farmers who can access their fields, mothers of the kidnapped, children whose schools are now shelters? What are you saying to them as their governor?
Well, let me give them assurance that I'm doing my possible best to have control and bring back sanity in Zamfara State as far as security is concerned. It is something that is ongoing, and I'll continue to do my best to protect lives and properties of my people. And yes, there may be some issues here and there, kidnapping there. At the same time, things are getting much, much better than they used to be in the past. So, which is a plus as far as this administration is concerned. So, we'll continue to give priority until the situation is under control, which is not impossible with the way we're going right now. And I'm sure if we maintain that, it's just a matter of time. Life will be much, much better and things will be back to normal in Zamfara State. So my appeal is for them to still be very patient. We're aware of the situation and we're facing the situation head on.
If there's one thing you want to be remembered for at the end of your first term, what would that be?
I want to be remembered as that governor that was able to transform Zamfara State from where they used to be to where they are now in terms of education improvement, in terms of healthcare delivery, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of agriculture, where we have comparative advantage as far as Zamfara State is concerned because we are an agrarian economy. That is what I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered as somebody who brought about changes, positive changes in Zamfara State, and we're on that track.
Let's talk on health for a minute, because we're following closely the maternal mortality rates from Zamfara. Precisely, what are you doing to tackle this challenge?
Having realized the challenges the health sector is facing is one of the reasons why I also had to declare state of emergency in the area of health. As we speak now, we have done more than 7 hospitals fully renovated with state-of-the-art equipment. If you go to Bukim local government, there's a town called Nasarawa. We upgraded that primary health care service to a fully functional hospital. If you go to Maru, we have also done that with the latest equipment that anybody can go there and get treated for whatever. If you go to Maradin, we have also done Maradin General Hospital is fully functional. We have done Karanamoda. Karanamoda is fully equipped with all that you can think of as far as healthcare is concerned. We have done some in Gusau. We also have done Safe. Within the next 2 weeks, we are going to commission Yerima Bakura Specialist Hospital, where everything there is new with the latest equipment as far as healthcare is concerned. So we're changing the landscape in that aspect too. We're also rebuilding, refurbishing over 250 primary healthcare centers across the state. You can send your crew to go and verify that information. And of course, about the hospitals, your crew were there. We did these things live so they can testify to all these things. So it's an ongoing process. And we are building and rebuilding the School of Nursing. We have done so much work there. We're also doing the same thing, health technology, so as to provide enough manpower that will be able to take care of those hospitals. And we're even paying premium to bring doctors to Zamfara State to take care of our people. So there's so much going on in that area.
Yeah, but there are concerns, however, that whether you are taking this development outside of the state capital to rural areas, you know. And,
I just mentioned local governments. Maradin is a local government. Maru is a local government. Karanamoda is a local government. Safe is a local government. Bukwim is a local government. We're doing Talata Mafara now. In the next 2 months, we're going to commission Talata Mafara General Hospital. All these are local government. It's not in Gusau, but it's in Zamfara State.
You've talked about quite a number of projects you've worked on, clearing pensions and gratuities, over 13 billion, clearing billions of naira for WAEC and
precisely
NECO.
13.6 billion was paid.
Yes,
NECO was clearly
13.6 is
NECO
over 13 billion. We're on the same page. I get it
Exactly.
precisely. But I'm
No,
just saying,
giving the precise figures.
I understand. 13.6 is still more than 13 billion. So I'm still accurate to my reportage. But where are you getting the monies from? Have you been borrowing, or it's all about the revenue hike that is coming from the federal government?
Well, let me also make a categorical statement here. All these things we're doing, we have not borrowed a dime from anybody. We're just being prudent in terms of our financial management. We're building roads. We're doing hospitals. We have settled NECO. We have settled WAEC. We've settled pension. We've settled judiciary. In fact, even judiciary, they were owing 2 years entitlement. And we had to settle 2.3 billion to be able to take care of them. So we're doing this with the limited resources, even though our IGR now has gone a bit up. Because when I took over, the IGR in Zamfara State was just about 90 million naira. And out of that 90 million, 90% was payee. But I'm happy to say that now we have crossed the 2 billion line as far as IGR is concerned, month-on-month basis. So I've been very, very prudent as far as finances is concerned. And, of course, we're also open to other development partners that key into our objectives.
I hear you. I understand
People
your
are coming in the area of
IGR,
health, in the area of education.
yes, your internal.
Go ahead.
I understand your internally generated revenue
Generated
drive.
revenue.
Yes, but you haven't commented on the allocation from the federal government that we understand for some governors has, doubled or even tripled in the past 2 years. Is that something you can confirm?
Well, if you're correct, but also if you look at inflation today, if you're getting 10 million in the past, and now you're getting 100 million, the value of the money, 10 million, then was much more than what you're getting right now because of inflation. But even with this, we're being very, very prudent as far as finances are concerned. We are not, let me just say it to you, we're not stealing the money. We use the money for the people. And
all right, so help me understand the maths so that we can get, the meat of the conversation. Are you saying that in actual fact, you're getting 10 times more? It went from 10 million to 100 million.
No. I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying we're getting 10 times more. The revenue has improved compared to what they were getting in the past. However, if you look at inflation, you're not really getting much. Because what you can do with 10,000, now 100,000 cannot do it for you.
In short, you're saying even though the revenue increased, you didn't get more value because of inflation.
No. In fact, the value has gone way, way, way down compared to the past, or in the past.
So all this talk about ask your governors what they are doing with the increased allocation doesn't apply to Zamfara?
Our books are open to anybody that wants to come and check. We are very, very transparent as far as finance is concerned. Very prudent as far as finance is concerned. And more importantly, we're not stealing the money. We use the money to work for the people. That is why we're able to achieve what we're achieving today. And we'll do more in the nearest future.
Mr. Governor, let me get your reaction on this latest development. The national headquarters of the PDP in Abuja has been sealed off by officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration. It happened about 2:05 p.m. today. We understand that the move sparked some protest from staff and party members. And after some back and forth, lasting about 15 minutes, the gate was briefly reopened to allow people to remove their cars and personal belongings. So the backstory has to do with the fact that the owner of the property, one Senator Samaila Maman Kofi, is reported to have failed to pay ground rent for 28 years. You know, earlier we talked about PDP and you said you're still very much a member of the party and that nothing has changed. And then I was saying that quite a number of things have changed in the past 2 years. One of it is that you have just lost your national headquarters in Abuja. How do you react to that?
Well, I can't say much as far as that is concerned because I also got information while I was coming here. So it would be somehow for me to comment on something that I have the full detail. But if I have the full information, anytime you're free, I will be able to answer that question.
Dr. Dauda Lawal, thank you so much for talking to us on Beyond the Headlines. We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Nice talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you for staying with us, everyone. From deepening insecurity to the challenge of economy, and you heard him also talk about the exciting anticipation for mining and how much money it can